Outdoors Queensland respectfully acknowledges the traditional owners and custodians of the lands where we gather across Queensland and further afield. We pay respect to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge the very important roles that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples play in relation to the land, sky and waterways that are used for outdoor activities. I'm in Brisbane or Meanjin on Yagara country, which is a place of the Jagera and Turrbal peoples. So if you'd like to, you can pop in the chat the place and the country that you're joining us from today. And I see a few people have already popped a good morning in the chat, so thanks for doing that. We also acknowledge the funding provided by the Queensland Government to support the outdoor activities across our state, including funding that lets Outdoors Queensland do our work, including funding from Sport and Recreation within Department of Tourism, Innovation and Sport. So welcome to another session of Coffee and Conversation. I'm Dom Courtney, Executive Officer at Outdoors Queensland. Our Operations Manager, Mark Squires, is my co-host for today's session, so thanks, Mark. I'd like to welcome you all, whether you're a member of Outdoors Queensland or not, and also anyone from interstate. I saw Kirsten's just popped up there from Rockhampton, Durrumbul land. Welcome, Kirsten, from Carers Queensland. So thanks for joining us.
Hello.
This is our 9th scheduled episode of Coffee and Conversation for 2022. And as I said before, the recordings of these sessions will be publicly available on our website via YouTube. So excellent. A few bit of an agenda, opportunities, particularly around outdoor activities, and some information about COVID-19 protocols, rules, and the outdoor ed space. If you've got anything to add to the agenda, feel free to speak up. And if you want to suggest topics for discussion in future sessions or today, feel free to contact me or Mark. We're always happy to have a chat as we go along. So a couple of things, just a few announcements, and particularly on opportunities. The first one is the Queensland Government has announced this $5 million Activate Ecotourism Infrastructure pilot initiative. And it's about financial support to Queensland tourism operators, not-for-profit organisations and local governments to deliver ecotourism and nature-based tourism infrastructure. And it particularly says infrastructure that's adjacent to or near public protected area, World Heritage Area, timber reserve or state forest. So it's quite broad. Just wanted to flag it so that it's actual funding of up to $2 million, but it's got to be dollar for dollar matched, I think, contribution by the recipient. And the expression of interests are open now and close on the 19th of July. So I just wanted to flag that one. There's guidelines and information on the website. Mark's just shared a link to that in the chat. So if you're interested in that, or you know someone who might be, I think it's worth having a look at those guidelines. It's a new fund, I think, that has just been announced. So check that one out or let others know about it. I think it's always good to have additional nature-based infrastructure next to our protected area spaces. So always a good thing for people to know about. So a few announcements from Sport and Rec I just wanted to flag. The first one there is the FairPlay voucher system. So it's moved to a fully online grant system. Organisations can register online to be providers under that, but also the people accessing the vouchers can do it all online now. So that's a good thing. Also the Sport and Rec Disaster Recovery Program. So we've publicised that and discussed it previously, including in our industry forum back in April. I think we held that one, might have been May, after the recent severe weather events. So there's a range of different funding under that one, but it's specifically at the moment, there's $5,000 at level 1. And then there's additional grant payments depending on circumstances. So all the details of that are online. But they've just also announced this community and recreational assets recovery and resilience program, which is it's a $45 million jointly funded by the Australian government and Queensland government, which is again about assisting in cleanup and repair of community and recreational assets that have been damaged during the 2021-22 financial year in the different disaster events, which it specifically talks about. That one is for local governments and non-for-profit organisations, and there's specific local government areas that were affected by those weather events. They've also, at the moment, it only goes as far as the February rainfall flood event, but I was on a meeting about that one the other day, and they said that they may be expanded to include the May weather event as well in that one. So I agree, Gavin, it could have a better acronym, that one. It's not a great one, I think, but it's important that those extra couple of R's are in there, I think. That's probably your point. So there is an expression of interest process, and the expressions of interest submissions close next Friday, the 8th of July. So if you're interested in that one, we need to move fairly quickly on that. So yeah, just wanted to flag that. The next one, I just wanted, this is really an announcement from Outdoors Queensland, but we've discussed this a couple of times, but since 2014, we've been operating the Nature Play Queensland program, which is all about increasing the amount of time that Queensland children play outdoors. We have been providing, as part of Nature Play Queensland program, professional development and other services to schools and early childhood educators. We're no longer offering those services, so the staff who were delivering those services have actually left Outdoors Queensland. We're going to continue to run the Nature Play Queensland program, and the resources will be available on our websites and social media channels. But I just wanted to flag that Rebecca, Anya and Rita, our staff who have been delivering those services, they're actually going to, their plan is to continue to offer professional development services through an external business. And there will be info about that on the Nature Play Queensland website with links, etc. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Rebecca, Anya and Rita particularly for their contributions to the organisation, and wish them success and happiness in the future. Yeah, there'll be more information about that on our website. So yeah, just wanted to let you know it's a bit of an internal thing, but it's relevant for the people who've used those services and will do so in the future as well. So another one, which is an internal one, but it's also relevant, I hope, to all of you, the Outdoors Queensland Awards for 2022. Our nominations opened last week. So really encourage people to have a look at the detail on the website and consider nominating for that. The award categories have changed, and that's about reflecting variety and diversity of Queensland's outdoor sector. So there's a range of different awards, including they're now under categories like outdoor recreation, outdoor education, outdoor play, adventure therapy, adventure tourism, workforce development in volunteer and paid workforce, and then government achievement. So and we've changed the Young Achiever Award to the Emerging Achiever Award, which is recognising that you don't have to be young to be a newcomer to the outdoors. So there's a few little tweaks in there. There's some big changes as far as the categories. So we'll keep that going, and there's information on the website. Nominations close the 4th of August. The awards presentation will be the last Friday of October, and I just saw David has asked a question there. It will be online, David. We're looking at having an in-person event this year, but we've made the decision to deliver it online. So yeah, we are hoping to get back to doing face-to-face, but at the moment we're still a little bit concerned, I guess, and also about having it face-to-face, but also the the availability or the ability to reach out beyond just the people in a room, usually in Brisbane, has actually been really well received, with having people from all over Queensland particularly and further afield join those the award nominations. So I think when we do get to a face-to-face gathering, we'll probably have some sort of hybrid one where we might do the award presentations and have that live streamed and then have a dinner after it or something like that. But that's possibly, that's a future thing rather than this year at the moment. Any questions on the awards or comments? You can nominate multiple people or organisations, and you can nominate yourself. There's no problem at all. I love the fact that people nominate themselves for these awards because it shows confidence in what's been delivered and what's been achieved. And you don't have to be a member of Outdoors Queensland to nominate or be nominated. But if you're not a member and you want to become a member, you can join us, of course. But yeah, the membership, it's not a prerequisite. All right, and Mark's just shared the link there, so thanks for that, mate. All right. The next one, just got there, we ran, I mentioned it before, in April, we held the industry forum focused on trails recovery and reconstruction after the natural disaster or natural disasters that have befallen us recently. But on the 21st of June, we ran an online industry forum, which was focused on the Australian Adventure Activity Standard and Good Practice Guides. So it was a really good discussion around the topic. So it was only a couple of weeks ago, but it's very relevant to a range of outdoor operators. I thought it was really good, the people who joined the discussion. The recording of the session's available on our website as a resource for anyone who's unable to join it or wants a refresher. So I'd encourage you to check it out. There's a couple of people on this call who joined us for that session. So thank you very much to everyone who did join the session, but it's there if anyone wants to check it out. Yeah, the other thing we've actually got another one coming up in July, and there'll be more information coming soon on that one. We're looking at doing that on insurance for outdoor providers. Just got to tee it all up and get it sorted in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, did anyone have any comments on the Australian Adventure Activity Standard session we had? Anyone who, whether you attended or not, or other information on other topics? I just realised I need to pause and let you guys have your say as we go along. So, well, Jenny's just said she found it very informative. That's terrific. And Laurie, it was a great discussion. Thank you. So, moving right along, National NAIDOC Week. And the celebrations are held across Australia in the first week of July each year. So it's Sunday to Sunday, and celebrates and recognises the history, culture and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. The NAIDOC Week's an opportunity for all Australians to learn about First Nations cultures and histories and participate in celebrations of the oldest continuous living cultures on Earth. So I wanted to flag this because it's an opportunity for us to support and get to know our local Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities through the activities and events that are held across the country. And the you know, the logo there and the slogan of or the tagline of "Get Up, Stand Up, Show Up." I think it's an invitation as well for people to show up and contribute and be part of NAIDOC Week celebrations. So, and there's quite a few activities in parks and that sort of things across the state, so it's good to see that that's happening. This next one, we've been involved a little bit in the Queensland Obesity Prevention Strategy consultation. This flows out of the federal government developed a national obesity strategy in the last couple of years. But the stats that are presented in relation to Queensland, it's 2/3 of Queensland adults and 1 in 4 children living with overweight or obesity. So Health and Wellbeing Queensland are leading the development of the Queensland Obesity Prevention Strategy and Action Plan on behalf of the Queensland Government. So they've got an online survey at the moment. And the website says it takes about 10 minutes to complete. Mark's just shared a link to that one. The reason we're talking about it is it does align really well with the Outdoors Queensland vision. If you want to complete that survey, it's an opportunity because you can emphasise the role of outdoor activity in community health. But the survey, as it says on the screen there, it closes the 6th of July. So it's only less than a week if you want to get in and complete that survey. But I would strongly encourage that one too. Another survey or consultation is the Queensland Office of Industrial Relations. So they're investigating the introduction of workplace health and safety regulations to improve the safety of workers and others when operating quad bikes and side-by-side vehicles in a workplace. And it's important, that it is only for workplaces. So it says on their website that the private use of quad bikes and side-by-side vehicles outside of workplaces is not captured in the scope of their proposal. But they're talking about, in this proposal, mandating things like helmet use, not allowing kids on adult quad bikes and side-by-sides, some passenger restrictions for vehicles. There's something in there about the age that passengers need to be and the different types of vehicles. And then seatbelt use on side-by-side vehicles where seatbelts are installed and the vehicles being used in a workplace. So they've released a discussion paper seeking feedback on the proposed regulations and the impacts for individuals, businesses and the community. The reason I brought this one up particularly is, that from the adventure tourism point of view, where there could be quad bikes used in that space, but also even on properties such as outdoor education or other properties where outdoor activities take place, the use of quad bikes and side-by-side vehicles as a way of getting around the property. So it could be relevant to some of our members. So I just want to let people know that there is some proposed changes with quite important rules on that. So they're seeking written submissions by the 31st of August. I'm going to have a look at putting a submission into that one. If anyone has any strong opinions, even if you don't want to do a submission, if you want to contact us and let me know, and I might be able to incorporate that into a submission by Outdoors Queensland, I'm more than happy to do that. But yeah, it's probably not the end of the world for our sector, but it's something we need to be aware of and may be able to provide some feedback on it, particularly so we can make sure that the government understands what the impacts are. So, sorry, any questions or comments on that one? Oh, all right. Good old COVID-19. I've barreled through a lot of that. If you do have any questions, just say so, or any comments. The big one for COVID protocols, the messaging on the roadmap's actually changed a little bit. And this diagram on the screen, it covers physical distancing and mask wearing and hand hygiene, stay home when sick, check-in Queensland app and vaccination and tests. But they've also included the COVID safe checklist, and another category on there is rapid response to outbreaks. So that's a little bit of a change to what has been used in the past, and it just shows, I think, maybe some of the government thinking in that about if we're having outbreaks to COVID, then there will be a ramp up in requirements and that sort of thing. So I just wanted to highlight that. So the other one, we've been chasing up the government in relation to the impacts of the back to school plan on outdoor operators. So we've taken our request to the Minister for Small Business. That just this week they got back to us and advised that the request's been referred to Queensland Health. And I've actually gone back and asked for a conversation about it rather than the request being passed from one minister to another, which is obviously difficult. Really, it's about ensuring that government understands the impacts of the decisions they make and that they react appropriately to it. So the big thing there, you know, as far as we will wait and see what we get from the government, but we're trying to make it clear that it's not something that it is something that needs a resolution. So yeah, I just wanted to flag that it's not been forgotten by us, and we will keep chasing it up. So on to recent changes since our last Coffee and Conversation session, which was in early June. So the big one is the removal of vaccine mandate for education settings. So the high-risk settings public health direction was revoked effective 1 AM 30th of June, so yesterday. So now, as it says there on the screen, that's revoked. There's no longer a vaccine requirement for workers in schools and early childhood. And the interesting bit I've found was that the Queensland Chief Health Officer did an interview with the ABC this week and made some comments where he said, we're entering a different phase of the pandemic, and said there will be ongoing waves with new variants going on for months or even years, and the era of public health directions is coming to an end, which I think is an interesting way of talking about this. I know the Health Minister said some similar comments recently as well. So I think from that point of view, you know, the Chief Health Officer was also talking about the number of people who are unwell with flu as well at the moment. I think they said there might have been another interview that I heard, but there's twice as many people in intensive care units from the flu than there are for COVID at the moment in Queensland, which is an amazing stat, I thought, which shows how serious the flu currently is in the community as well. And yeah, so obviously those other protocols, the things like the hand hygiene and staying home if you're unwell are critical. But yeah, just wanted to flag that they're obviously moving away from public health directions in relation to this space. So any comments, questions?
I have a question. So does this apply equally then to outdoor education centres and venues?
Yeah. Yeah. So the entire direction has been revoked, David. So we actually had asked questions about this in the past, and I think we talked about it last time, where there was opportunities to actually contact Queensland Health directly and get them to assess a venue as to whether or not the vaccine mandate applied to your venue. And for some outdoor education operators, they came back and said, no, it doesn't apply. They gave venue by venue advice on it. But they've completely removed that direction for in education settings and no longer included in the vaccine mandate. So it's not even there now. If you go to their website, there's just a statement that says, you know, this has been revoked and it's no longer includes education settings, full stop. So yeah, there's the vaccine mandate now only applies, and it's under a different public health direction for the health world, and I think that includes aged care as well, but that's not my specialty. But yeah, it definitely still includes health workers, but that's under a different direction. I just saw Tanya's comment. Hopefully it'll make staffing a bit easier. Yeah, agree, Tanya. And I guess part of that is also for workers who aren't vaccinated. It may mean, you know, that you know, they'll be able to work again. But they did specifically say on that website, and I think Mark's just shared the link. It actually says on the website, it's up to each employer to make decisions as to whether vaccination's required in your workplace. So that's sort of seems to be the way they're now addressing it. So yeah, again, if vaccination is not required in your workplace, if your organisation's made that decision, then yes, hopefully it will make attracting and retaining staff a little bit easier as far as our skilled and qualified workforce out there. So I just saw Laurie's comment about staying away from the flu from personal experience. And COVID is not the only enemy. Yeah, Laurie, I hope you're feeling better soon, Laurie, because you didn't sound too good a couple of weeks ago, to be honest, but you sounded a lot better last week when I spoke to you.
Starting to get used to the heavy voice.
Oh dear, yeah, it's not good. Yeah, I've known a couple of people who've made similar comments about the flu, and it's not good. So yeah. Just a bit more information, say from Education Queensland. They've set out they've got their rules for state schools for attending camps and excursions. So they've removed the requirement for outdoor ed providers to comply with COVID safe checklists or the industry plans because they're revoked. There's still information on their website about what it means, and they specifically say in there that that it is permitted to run excursions and camps at Department of Education providers and also non-department facilities. And then there's a bit more information about that in there. There's some good detail on there, and it's worth having a look at the website for that, about what Education Queensland expects from its schools. This slide is actually the rules that they have, and the department's website, it says that off-site premises, so that includes non-departmental outdoor ed centres. It says off-site premises must adhere to public health directions, and it then provides guidance regarding check-in for school-age kids and vaccination status for adult chaperones. And then says schools have to retain details of students attending external venues, which is standard practice anyway, but particularly for camps and other organised outdoor activities. So I don't think there's anything in that should cause great concern in there, and they've actually updated it pretty quickly to make sure, and I guess that's because the government announced these changes last week and said that they'll come in yesterday morning at I think it was 1 AM yesterday morning. So there's been a bit of notice of this change coming in relation to the changes to the vaccination mandate. So it's good to see that the Education Department's updated their website pretty quickly, and yeah, there is pretty clear information on there, but it's worth having a look at if you have any concerns about what are the rules from the Education Department, particularly for their schools who are coming to your venue. And we've discussed this a few times. I mean, the rules are there. Primarily, the schools need to know what those rules are and follow them. But I think sometimes there's an expectation from the schools as clients that outdoor ed providers know the government's rules and are following them, which we have been doing right through COVID and previously. But there's also, I think, it's a good opportunity just to make sure you have a look at those Department of Education websites and just stay up to date with what they've got, because they are changing a little bit as we go along. Any questions, comments, queries, which is a question? Yeah, all right.
I'll jump in again, and since Laurie's in the call as well. Is there any within the sector being reflective of the fact that a lot of people seem to have left at the grassroots instructing facilitation level, at doing a survey or getting a snapshot of where the sector is currently, or is that work already being done, getting done behind the scenes on a national or a state-by-state basis? I got pulled into some extra work just last week, which was nice, but the vibe and the talk amongst the sector and the employees in the field is no one's here anymore. Everyone's left, and it's a reflection of COVID and flooding and all the things that we've always talked about. But maybe we need to reflect that back to the decision makers at government level when we talk to them about funding and resourcing and supporting the sector, because it seems like we're back to a COVID normal situation and the government's saying go for it. But if we don't have enough new people coming through and all that type of stuff, so you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah. Laurie, did you want to, I'm happy to hand over to you, but I guess my initial comment, it goes back to what Tanya just said about hopefully it'll make staffing a bit easier. And I think that's across the board in relation to staffing. Right now it's a difficult market as far as that side of things right now across different industries, but ours as well. We've had conversations, particularly with Department of Small Business and Training and Employment in relation to workforce issues in Queensland. We've flagged that a couple of times. We actually have got a couple of wins in relation to some subsidies of training in relation to some of those things, and trying to get some more training available. But there's certainly a lot more that can be done. There's no doubt. Yeah.
I guess I'm looking ahead to the National Outdoor Education Conference, where that would be a great forum to share the results of a survey or a snapshot of what the sector looks like right now. And therefore, what's our next 18 months to 5-year plan to get people back into the field so we don't have a staffing crisis every week.
David, you and I a bit freakily connect on these levels a lot. So what I've instigated in New South Wales and ACT is a bit of probably a pilot to see if the other states and territories would like to look at it. But I'm about to release the first outdoor census. So in light of the census that's come out from the ABS only this week, and sitting through McCrindle stuff yesterday, it's incredibly insightful, and I'm just envious of the content. So for a while now, I've been planning this census, and I hope to get it out next week to the industry. And I want them all to fill it out for the sake of exactly what you said. We need to understand the pulse of what's going on out there. And yeah, I will be able to share that at NOEC in September. But I think there's a lot of moving parts, as Dom sort of said. You've got the education side, and in this state, luckily, you could do a Cert 4 in outdoor leadership at no cost. But I've got less providers doing it, and the ones that are doing it are full. So we've got a dilemma in that area. We've got a vet system that's about to make huge changes right across the country. So we've got that moving beast. We've got a lot of people in other states and territories that are also re-looking at costs because of nature of business and stuff today, and we're a very costly course to run. So I only just heard 2 weeks ago that Tasmania's TAFE is closed. They don't offer it anymore. Now that's a huge hit to our industry across the country if that could be done in one territory, so in one state, sorry. So there's a lot of lobbying that's going at federal level and state level on these issues. There's some great conversations being had, but I've got to say I can't see the horizon yet. It's a lot of moving pieces going in the right direction, but we've got a lot of work to do in this space. The pulse, the understanding of this state, I think would be probably reflective, if I'm not going to summarise, other states, but I think it'll give certainly an indicator of where we sit, and that will go towards a lot of those discussions and providing that evidence.
Yeah. And it's certainly something, I think, it's something that we could roll out as well. The key part of that is going to be getting people to actually complete the outdoor census, as Laurie called it. Actually getting completed surveys is always a bit of a challenge in our world, because people are busy doing stuff rather than wanting to fill out surveys. So if we can get that out and get good results on it, we don't quite have the ability of the Australian Bureau of Statistics to tell everyone you must complete this on a certain day for your whole household, but it would be a wonderful resource for people who can complete it, and certainly something that we could roll out too.
Just on the just on the census. So just to put it in perspective, I attended Mark McCrindle's session yesterday, as I said, and he paid testament to the 32,000 staff that pulled it together. So I don't have 31,999 beside me to help pull something together like this, but it's a start. And yeah, I'll send you the link certainly, Dave, when it's public. But yeah, it's in its final testing. It should go out next week. Just in relation to Mark Cartner's, Dom, did you want to talk to that, or do you want me to talk to Mark?
Oh, happy for you to. Yeah.
So yep, you're right. Mark, Sam and her team at OEG have been working with Box Hill and also Victoria University to look at trying to get more people through the industry and look at I suppose micro credentials and trying to match their experience and expertise to get them through the process probably a little bit quicker and filling the gaps. It is really a pilot. It seems like it's got the right intentions. It'll be great to see it in action, and it's getting, I think, 430 staff, I think, or is it 230? One of those.
It was hundreds, I know that.
Yeah, it was
every
hundreds,
night's spoken to me about it too, and it's partly OEG feeling the same pressures as other operators, but obviously as one of the biggest, if not the biggest, outdoor education provider, they're feeling it pretty pointedly, and so they're working on that to bring trainees through and give them work experience. I think within OEG is the intent, but they can,
and others,
and other places, yeah, exactly. So
yeah, that's the one good thing about this. It's very holistic. They're not just doing it OEG, they're taking the lead on it, but yes, exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. It's not just about creating graduates for OEG's programs. I'm sure OEG will be presenting themselves as an employer of choice in that space, but it's also about anyone else and having more trained, skilled workers across the outdoor sector, and that's an important part of that. And I guess it's also about how we make the outdoor sector an attractive place for those people to work and see that there's a career and a pathway right throughout. You know, not we've talked about this many times in the past about making the outdoors not just a fun place to work for a little while and then go and get a, you know, quotation marks, real job, and making sure that outdoors can be seen as a pathway and a career, a path for anyone in Australia. And that might actually require some changes to the outdoor sector as a whole. Like it's something we need to look at on. There's been issues we discussed at various forums, including at the we had it at the OEAQ Fools Forum last year. There was a good discussion about the career pathway, particularly for women in the outdoor sector and outdoor education, which is really quite good. An amazing panel spoke at that forum and spoke about some of the challenges faced by some of our female workers, and you know, it's something that does need to be addressed. So yeah, there's certainly more work to be done, but we definitely, I'll be talking to Laurie a bit more about the census and about how we might be able to share it as well, or be part of that. Yeah, thanks, David. All right, I've got a few reminders. I have got inside the outhouse at the top of that list, mate. If you wanted to say anything about upcoming oration on the outhouse.
Well, it's a holiday break in New South Wales, well, in the whole country. So we're having a bit of a mini break, but we're looking to come back maybe the third week in July with some more talking about risk management potentially, and talking about the actual application of risk around that, and from an international perspective. What I want to also throw out, wearing my other hat as a member of the OEAQ, is and the national awards that are going to be presented at NOEC. The registration or the cutoff date for that is 15th July. I'll put that link in the chat shortly.
You've just muted yourself, mate.
Yeah, sorry. I should know better than that. Pressing keys as I go. The AEE conference in the States, which is the I guess the biggest experiential education conference of its sort globally, is still doing a hybrid model this year coming up in November. Long way off, but if you're looking to get passports and flights together and all that type of stuff, and attending physically, but there is a virtual presence, so registration is now open for that, and there's an early bird rate. I'll also put links in the chat for all of that. Thanks.
Perfect. You attended last year, didn't you?
I've attended the last 2 years virtually.
Yep.
I'm sitting in a hotel room at 3 o'clock in the morning. Great fun. But we've made lots of connections as a result of it with people like Jeff at Veristar and other organisations that we now talk to on a regular basis, and connecting the outdoor community in a bigger space. So it's good to look outside our own borders sometimes to see what else is happening in the experiential and outdoor ed field and outdoor recreation for that matter. So and I guess regards to that, Pete Smith's presenting at NOEC from inside the outhouse, but he's also presenting in the AEE conference as well in November virtually. So we've got a couple of presentations we're planning and putting together at the moment. Thanks.
Terrific. Thanks, Mike. I think there's a few other things on there, but I just wanted a reminder, obviously, for Inside the Outhouse, which is a terrific community action in relation to particularly outdoor education and broader, but also our resources there, the websites and the e-bulletins and our social media channels. Don't forget about that disaster recovery funding. This photo I put on there, it's from sports fields. It's actually from my morning walk a few months back. So I was doing outdoor activities, just it happened to be through a sports field, but they're the playing fields at Windsor or Albion, which were really badly affected by flooding, and they're in the process of being repaired. But you can, there's a beautiful double rainbow in that image, and it's only just visible, I think. But it was an interesting, I thought maybe it was the rainbow was part of the recovery of some of these spaces for outdoor activities and sports. I just wanted to flag the awards nominations as well. Don't forget about that, and have a look at the different categories of the awards. We've got plenty of opportunities there. So please have a look on there. And Dave, thanks for sharing the AEE Conference Registration and also Outdoor Education 2022 awards. And the deadline for nominations 2 weeks today. So thanks, mate. For NOEC, I'm actually going to be speaking there too on I wrote an outline of a presentation. I think it was in November 2019, but I have enjoyed lately, Laurie, the image of the NOEC conference, and it says it will go ahead. So that's great to see. So it's really good, and looking forward to that as a chance to meet face to face as well with so many people from across Australia, and really looking forward to that.
Dom or Laurie, the NOEC booking for NOEC tickets, do you get a discount if you're an Outdoors Queensland member?
Yes, you do. I'll give Dom a code.
Thank you, Laurie. Yeah, I was going to say, I can't remember. It's been so long since I bought my ticket, Dave, to be honest. But thanks, Laurie. Yeah, zip it through, and we can we'll make sure people understand that how that applies. So, and Mark's just flagged the 9th International Adventure Therapy Conference finished last week in Norway. I take it you didn't get to that, Mark, but one of my nieces. Sorry, mate.
Sadly not.
Okay. One of my nieces just went to Norway to do a midnight. She did a half marathon, and her cousin did a marathon, which started at something ridiculous o'clock, so they could run through the midnight sun. And she did the half, and her cousin did the full marathon overnight. So they could have finished up and then gone to the Adventure Therapy Conference if they thought about it. I should have flagged it, mate. All right. That's pretty much it. If anyone else have any other announcements, comments, questions, if not, big thank you for coming. Thanks again to Mr. Squires for co-hosting today and for all his work. Mark and I are actually in the same building today, which is nice. Yeah, and a big thanks to all of the Outdoors Queensland staff and volunteers who contribute to what we do. Our next session sounds a bit scary, but it'll be the first Friday in August. I still can't believe we're halfway through the year yet. But yeah, so the 5th of August is that first Friday. So we'll sign off now. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending today and for contributing. As I'll sign off with look after yourself, look after others, and look after the planet.